Republican lawmakers in Florida held an emergency meeting this week where they begged immigrants to please stay in Florida. The state's about to experience massive economic pain thanks to Ron DeSantis, the guy who's running for president. His recent bill targets migrant workers in Florida, and it's really, really bad for Florida, possibly the entire Southeast. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me to talk about it. Farron, this story is nauseating. If there's somebody that's followed this from beginning to know what these creeps have done behind closed doors, pick it up.
Yeah, what we saw this week was down in Hialeah, Florida. You had 3 Republican lawmakers, and we got to name them, State Representative Lena Garcia, Rick Roth, and Juan Barkeen, held this meeting in South Florida behind closed doors. They've got their business leaders who are freaked out about the thought of losing all their migrant labor. So these lawmakers get up on stage, and it's all on video, and they tell them, listen, there's no teeth in this bill. It's all for politics. It's all for show.
Right.
So what you have to do is you got to tell your migrant workers don't leave. Tell your migrant workers to tell their migrant friends don't leave the state, because we're all panicked about it. And this is all on video. Thomas Kennedy, reporter from South Florida, caught it all.
So do you think this guy who's running for president didn't know that? Didn't know that this was a show? And then all of a sudden, the construction industry is calling Tallahassee, say, what the hell? What have you done? This is our workforce. We can't build houses without them. We can't put roofs on houses without them. The citrus industry saying, who in the world do you think is going to pick the oranges now? They're calling him. They're calling Republican representatives and say, have you gone frigging crazy? Because what's happening is they understand this. The entire GDP of Florida is going to be in the tank. So now we learn they knew that all along. This was a scare tactic. This was all about the culture wars. We want to out-culture war Trump. We want to look so far to the right that we look like crazy people. Well, he's done it. He looks like a crazy man, and the idiots in Tallahassee look even crazier, don't they?
They really do, and I'm glad you used that phrase, scare tactic, because that is what those lawmakers down in South Florida said. They said this law is just a scare tactic. The goal is to keep people, migrants, from coming into Florida. We don't want to lose the ones we've got. It's one of those, you're the good ones. We don't want the other ones.
We don't want the bad ones. It's all about mobility. This is what they miss totally. Well, I don't think they missed it. I think they had closed door meetings. I promise you. They had closed door meetings in Tallahassee, and you had a bunch of cigar smoking punks talking about the idea, this is perfect. We're going to scare the hell out of everybody. We're out of immigrants. We're going to look like we're right of Attila the Hun. We're going to look like we're winning the culture war. And all of a sudden, this meeting takes place down in Hialeah County, and they say, look, it was just a show. The crazy man here was just putting on a show. The guy running for president was just putting on a show. Well, if he's going to put a show like that on in Florida, think of what he's going to do in Washington, D.C. Think about that. And if he says, well, I didn't have any control over the legislators, nonsense, right?
Oh, exactly. This bill came from Ron DeSantis. They know, everybody in that legislature knows that this is what he wanted. He wouldn't have signed it. He wouldn't have pushed it. He wouldn't be bragging about it out there on the campaign trail. And every one of them, you're right, knows how devastating this is. What I don't think they expected was the massive backlash from their donors, because those are the people who are going to first immediately get hurt.
The donors are going crazy. This guy has gotten all of his money from the Chamber of Commerce types. The Chamber of Commerce types are writing, we need more immigrants. Yeah. I mean, that's their big, we need more immigrants. So this guy, with other little creatures in Tallahassee, says, well, look, we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to look like we're anti-immigration, and people are going to love us for it. Next day, all the donors start calling him, have you lost your frigging mind, right? Now this is admitted. I mean, they're admitting it in this meeting, right? One more time, tell the viewers what was said in this meeting.
Yeah, again, I'm going to give full credit, obviously, Thomas Kennedy, who captured this.
Great work here.
These 3 lawmakers are sitting there telling these people, don't panic. It's all for show. This is just politics. There's a political agenda behind it. It's not meant to really be enforced. They said there's no teeth in it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's worked because they're leaving already, buddy.
They are.
They're going to Alabama, they're going to Mississippi, they're going to Georgia, and this guy's going to have to explain to Florida consumers, and the cats in Tallahassee are going to have to explain to the consumers why we've increased the cost of building a house by 20%, why now orange juice costs us $10 a bottle. Well, they're going to have some explaining to do, and he thinks this is going to help him. It's just the opposite. My prediction is this might be a deal killer for this guy. Once people understand this is the guy who wants to do the same kind of thing running the entire country.
Our U.S. economy would be crippled if we did what DeSantis has done to Florida to the rest of the United States. When he says, let's make America Florida, that's not a promise, that's a threat. It is an absolute threat that he wants to do that.
It should scare the bejesus out of everybody. Well, you know, it's life in the political lane. But you know what? It did so much harm to Florida that it's already harmed our economy. It's only going to get worse.
Well, that's the thing. It's harmed us so much already, and it technically hasn't gone into effect yet.
Right.
But what we've seen, there's reports you've got migrants in Florida, immigrants, even legal immigrants, who are now afraid to leave their homes. Restaurants are losing business because people aren't going in because I don't want people to assume I'm an illegal immigrant and then I get arrested.
Right.
It is having a chilling effect.
We're going to talk
in every
about that
industry.
next segment.